Why did I leave Columbia Records? A lot of people were a little disappointed when I initially went to Columbia Records. We've been, running Reach Records independently for years now, over a decade, and God has been very gracious to us. At the time Anomaly came out, it was the #1 album, #1 in so many different categories. It was really kind of mind-blowing that this small independent label could take an album #1 in multiple different categories on the Billboard charts. And I saw the pull that it put on my label, on the staff, and I never wanted to become the artist that took all of the work and all of the staff for himself while his other artists struggled by the wayside. So I wanted to have my artists have the capacity and the capability to use the staff and take some of that pressure off my staff. And the way to do that was to find a different staff to take care of the project. And so Columbia became that different staff to take care of the project that we would trust to take us to different places. The pros in that situation is that they have relationships and networks that we didn't have, right? Obviously, they've been working in the mainstream music and radio and all those different places, so they had access to stuff that we didn't have access to. The cons were that we were a small independent label and we were used to our freedom and just being able to move when we want to move and do what we want to do when we want to do it and how we want to do it. When you're working with a major label that has hundreds of artists, they have so many different priorities. And so if this artist's album's coming out on June 5th, then your album can't come out on June 5th because all the priorities focused on that album. So it's those types of issues that created problems with Fluidity. We tried it, and man, there was some highs and some lows of that relationship. I think ultimately the biggest thing for me is that we have a vision and a mission that we feel like God has given us. And obviously, when you team up with somebody else, they have to support your vision and mission. And sometimes there can be a conflict in the vision and the mission. And so that's always gonna be an issue that you have to run into. But the biggest thing is that we like the fluidity to do what we needed to do when we wanted to do it. If you've heard the song Deep End, Deep End was written, recorded, and put out in days in response to everything that I was experiencing and everything that was going on in society with the societal unrest. And that's something that I would not have been able to do at a major label because there's so much red tape that you have to go through in order to get something like that out. On top of that, a lot of the work that I got to do with Love Beyond Walls and helping out with the, making sure that there were sinks around the country, hand washing stations, people to wash their hands in. That's something that oftentimes a major label will say, hey, how can we get behind this and use it for something, and they'll want to get behind it, but they have such a long runway. And for me, I just do stuff. I do it when I feel it. I don't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody I was gonna go do that. I just did it. It's harder to get behind an artist who's active in different kinds of ways. So the biggest thing I would say for young artists out there is a major label relationship, you have to go into it knowing what your vision is and making sure that they support your vision and that you have a clear understanding. The best possible scenario for somebody who has a vision, a mission, and they know what they want to see done is to be independent or work with a smaller label that can move quickly and really support the vision that you have behind you. On one end of the spectrum, a label is a bank. I mean, that's a pretty good way to look at it. It's a bank that has resources. It's got financial resources, it's got people resources, and if you don't have those, then sure, you can look at the label as that. I didn't need a financial bank. We were doing fine financially. I needed the relational bank. I needed the relational resources, and we were able to navigate those spaces, build the relationships that we needed in order to move forward in the way that we want to move forward. So all that to say, I feel like God had a vision and a mission for me, and it didn't include me being at Columbia Records. That was a season and a time period, and then I had to move on. Now, if I'm gonna be really, really candid, here's the thing that I would say you have to watch. You have to watch your ego, because there definitely are more opportunities to feed your ego in a major label system. Obviously, they're not there to hold your hand and walk you through what it is that you feel like God wants you to do with your life and your career. They're just there to, blow you up, make you as big as possible. And if you're not walking in humility, if humility is not something that you're pursuing, the temptations abound. They're endless. So I would tell you that as well. If you don't know who you are and you don't know whose you are, it's easy to get lost in that matrix. So you definitely got to know yourself and be focused. So I love the independent route. I'm excited. The fluidity, the ability to move how I want to move, when I want to move. I'm just grateful that we were able to, take our ideas and our plans back into our own hands and move forward.
Even Christian hip hop artists are going through the same thing that everybody else goes through, man. I really ain't got no intro. I'm just trying to think of shit. Can you say shit on a Christian hip hop video?
My ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond.
My name is Dorian from Group82music.com. Right here we got Lecrae talking about why he left Columbia Records and went independent. When you are on a major label system, you're gonna get access to things that as an independent artist, we just ain't got access to. When's the last time an independent artist was on The Breakfast Club? Like a truly independent artist. The last time an independent artist was on Hot 97 or Sway in the Morning. When was the last time an independent artist was on the cover of Rolling Stone that didn't have some sort of major label relationship, right? I think it might have been Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. When you are a true independent artist, there's gonna be things that are going to be shut out to you. The two major things that are shut out to us right now are radio, like major radio promo, and major tour support. And so there's this temptation, which is a very good word to use when talking about Lecrae, because he's a Christian hip hop artist. There's this temptation to want to sign to a major label because you want to get the same looks as a Drake, as a Cole, as a Kendrick, as a Jay-Z. And being independent is going to be very tough for you. But like Lecrae said, man, when you get into a major label system, you are not the priority. You are a line on an expense sheet or a balance sheet or a P&L. That's all you are. And that line is either black or it's red. If it's black, cool. If it's red, you gotta go. They don't care about your art. They don't care about your vision. They don't care about your life goals. They don't care about your family. They don't give a damn, are you gonna make them money or not? My album True Support's coming out September 11th, 2020. I know for a fact if I was on a major label that my album wouldn't be able to drop on that date because they probably got 2, 3, 4 other artists that want to drop on that date. And those artists have earned more at that label than I would have because I ain't earned nothing for no label yet. So therefore they would get the priority. So I'll have to wait for other artists to drop their album before mine came out. Do you know how deflating that is to an artist? Do you know how much bullshit that is? Like, this is my music. This is my art that I want to give to my fans. And I have to wait for your permission to tell me when I can give my fans what I want to give them. Why would you ever let somebody have that type of power over you and your music and your career? Another thing I want y'all to pay attention to what he said is the ego. I used to think that ego meant you were arrogant, right? Like, I don't feel like I have an ego. Because when you have an ego, you're delusional. Like, for example, because I'm a nigga that thinks he can do anything, right? And I can do fucking anything. But I know that I cannot be an Olympic gymnast. I think if I started training, I would get good. I think my arms and shoulders would be even more, than I already am. But I know I'm probably not gonna be able to get to the level where I could probably compete in the 2024 Olympics. That was ego to me. But that's not ego. That's not it. We all have ego. We all have things that we're proud about, that we take ownership about. And when someone doesn't respect that, we feel disrespected about that. When you get in these major label systems or you get in anything, whether it's social media or any type of clout or fame, your ego is going to get fed. If you're the type of person who likes being famous or likes attention, when you start getting a lot of followers on Instagram, you're going to feel that attention. People are going to like your photos, they're going to comment, they're going to send you a lot of DMs, people are going to want to do business with you. It can feed your ego. When you're in the major label system, you're going to get looks that you wouldn't have got as an independent artist. It's going to feed your ego. You have to know who you are as a person, and that's why being an older artist or an independent artist for a while is great, because you have things happen for you when you're independent. You get the novelty out, you get the newness of that shit out, and then once you get bigger looks or you get inside of a major label, you're not shocked by that anymore. You're not shocked by celebrities. You're not shocked by a bunch of likes or a bunch of views or a bunch of streams. You gotta keep your ego in check. There are a lot of artists whose egos melt them down, and it's because they never had life experience outside of that label. And it's the reason why a lot of artists don't want to leave, because if you've only had positive reinforcement of your ego inside the label, how could you possibly get it as an independent artist? They have no idea what they want to do. There's this big story going around right now with Russ and Steve Stout, where Steve Stout said that Drake is going to get the biggest bag in the history of music. And if Drake leaves Universal, it will destroy the music business. If I was Drake, I would absolutely leave Universal, because the amount of money he can make on his own is endless. And I'm not saying this is feeding Drake's ego, but Drake has never truly been an independent artist where he's had to do every single thing on his own. He did stuff early on, but once he got on, it was a huge system. The amount of undertaking that it would take Drake to support his empire is fucking crazy. So it just makes a lot more sense for him to stay at Universal. But had he been an independent artist for a long time, like a Master P, like an E40, like a Jay-Z, he would already know how to do that. So that could be a really, really good business decision for him. But we don't know what he's thinking. We don't know what Drake's thinking. We know what Lecrae gave us insight on. Thank you for that. But you gotta think about that when you're debating between being independent or being major. I'm independent. I'm probably always gonna stay independent. I don't see myself ever signing with a major because I like doing things like I'm doing right now. My album True Support comes out September 11th, 2020. And if y'all pre-order the album, I'm gonna put you in our Spotify playlist permanently for $9.99. That playlist usually costs $249. I'm gonna get to you for $9.99 right now. I'm out the pond. Y'all stay true.